Hello, everyone. We could clap a film, couldn't we? To say, well done, Telly, and congratulations to Emma Willis. Thank you very much for joining us for this Sky One controller session. I think we're going to start with a film, aren't we, before we start our conversation.
That involves less work for us then, yes.
Let's have a look at what Zai's been up to over the past 12 months. Zai Bennett, welcome and thank you very much for joining us. How does it feel watching those clips and watching all your hard work?
Not all my hard work. Most of it. I mean, I wrote, directed, and produced most of those shows. No, it really heartens me seeing that because I'm so proud of what we've achieved in a couple of years. Because that's entirely the original shows that we made at Sky. It's nothing to do with the things we acquire, which are equally brilliant. But I think for a long time we weren't seen as making the very best, and lots of it. And I think we absolutely do now, and it's landed in a really serious and important way.
So this is the first time that you've done a Sky controller session here at Edinburgh. Does that feel like a significant moment in Sky's history?
I've just been caught, so I've tried to... It's absolutely a significant moment in Sky's history. I think to the outside world, everyone will be thinking about that there are various bids going on for Sky. But in terms of the internal world at Sky, it's about very much delivering excellence, looking at what is it that we do that's different to what everyone else does. So when we look across our competitive portfolio, we like to think that we're slightly more sassy and fun and a bit less introspective than maybe the terrestrials are. And then with our other big competitors, the OTT players, so the Netflixes and Amazons, and in some respects, we're partners with them as well. But we like to think we're more British and local than they are. So I think landing that significantly and really consistently now in original drama over the past 18 months, from Riviera with Julia Stiles and Tin Star up into Save Me and Patrick Melrose recently, has been electrifying. I think comedy is doing fantastically and has really started landing from the autumn just past on Sky One in a really big way, carrying on from the great heritage of things like Stella and Mount Pleasant, but we've reinvented that, and in the long run, really important show for us there from Idris Elba. And there's big key talent in all of those shows. And then in entertainment, we're working on that. We've got some really big ongoing franchises. I think that we'll probably come on to that later as well. Yeah. There's a bit more work to do there.
So you joined Sky in 2014 to run Atlantic. Take a little look at the last 4 years. Talk me through what's changed in the industry over the time that you've been at Sky, and what has changed at Sky itself.
Well, the industry has just got more and more competitive. So there's a huge amount of indies out there pitching for biz ideas, and we are hugely competitive in trying to get people to come to us with their best ideas. That's what my job, what the team and commissioning team that I work with. We want people to bring their ideas to Sky first, and we've got to give them a really good reason to do that because there's lots of other places for them to go. So that's become more intensive over the past 4 years. I think what we make, as I was just saying earlier, I think has got significantly better. I think we've been much more consistent and we've got clarity about the main content brands we've got, so the channel brands. So Sky One, we relaunched it late last year. I think it's much clearer that it's a very entertaining, fun place on Sky One. Even when we're doing dramas, I think the dramas on Sky One will always have a clear heroes and clear villains, and you'll get the ending you really want, but we might twist it slightly, or the scale will be bigger, or the talent will be more exciting. And then I think I think it's changed hugely over 4 years. On Sky Atlantic, it's just gone from strength to strength. It has been the backbone of that channel's been the HBO and then Showtime deals we have. So all of those shows, which is a pretty good place to be. But then having nearly 10 original dramas a year now we have on that channel as well, just elevates it. And I think Sky moving seriously, convincingly into original production has really been important. I think we've seen our original shows are sort of doing 50% more in terms of ratings than they've done before, and then next year we're spending 25% more on them as well. So the success is being rewarded internally by our business as well.
Have you got expectations about what you'd like to reach if they're 50% year on year? How kind of
just keep doing that. That's fine.
Yeah. Continue to double.
Just big hits. Talked about important hits. There's another thing that's a point of difference for us, I think, from sort of terrestrial anyway, is that Our shows have to all be events, all of them. Everything we commission is there because it's sort of satiating our customers' need. They're paying for our service. So we have to give them something worth paying for, which means it has to be amongst or even their favourite show of the year. That's the aim from everything we're making. We're not just filling a schedule and having to do certain hours of certain things.
So you're talking about being extremely proud of the roster of original programming. You were involved into the move in commissioning as co-productions and co-producing between the US and UK. How big a part of your plan is that going forward?
Well, I think we're happy to look at every sort of business model of making a show. It's about the idea first, and then working with partners is very much about working with partners who you share the same outlook and the same vision for that show. How long this will continue into the future with people wanting to own all of shows and so on is up for debate. But at the moment, we've got a really healthy roster of shows where we co-produce. So we can be co-producing currently a comedy with HBO called Sally Forever, which is a Julia Davis piece, which comes out later this year. We're co-producing a drama with HBO, which is called Chernobyl, which is a dramatic retelling of that disaster in Europe. It's an amazing story of human sacrifice. And with Showtime, we've just we co-produced Patrick Melrose, which has got 5 Emmy nominations. So it's going all right. Yeah,
fantastic show. Quick reminder, because I haven't done it yet, and I should have, that if you've got any questions or anything you want to pick up on with Zai, any of the rest of the team from Sky, then please do send your questions in via the app. We're going to come to those at the end, so please get your questions in. So Sky has obviously managed the hits that it's got very well by building brands with contextual programming, so Thronecast obviously, and then the excellent Westward fan show, which I believe it's a must watch. You must catch up. Is building communities of passionate viewers a way to differentiate from the streamers? Is that an important part of finding a competitive niche?
That helps with those shows and those big shows. We do that because there's such a fandom around them. But that's the point about all of the things we're making. The intention is that they are treated with great care and respect and attention, and is that they are treated as long-term big program brands that will have a long life. And that's about the way we market them, promote them. So and the way we really that the commissioning teams, especially with Anne, John, and Phil, absolutely dedicated to looking after their shows. And it's making big program brands which have fans, which then brings in big fandoms.
Okay, and how do you measure success? I mean, I think you've talked in the past about evolving beyond the barb system, and you've already referred to the fact that people consume with subscriptions. There are many different ways that people can kind of plug into your content beyond traditional subscriptions. What quantifies success for you, and how do you get that metric? It's actually really straightforward, which is add up everyone who watches it. But just technically doing that is the tricky part. But I think we've got a really good system. Barb have got Project Dovetail, which works really well. On Sky Atlantic, for example, we release the full series of a drama at once whenever it's an original drama, and in some cases we do that with some of our American shows on Sky Atlantic as well, because we want to give customers the choice to be able to watch things when they want to, and that system now counts that properly, so you get to see, because sometimes those shows have vast amounts of their consumption. The majority of it will happen in the first couple of weeks. The old Barb system, which was only recently just evolving, would have missed out everything for EP2 onwards, which obviously we just didn't care so much, because luckily we could do what we wanted to, because we've got our subscription model, so we could do what we wanted to for our customers. We knew it was the best thing for them, that they wanted the choice, but luckily that measurement system's caught up a bit more. Also, the other thing is we're measuring, it's not just about the eyeballs, it's about the value. Have our customers loved it? Have they engaged with it in a serious and meaningful way, or is it just something they've had on while they're doing the ironing? How do you measure that?
We just put cameras in everyone's...
Cameras in irons.
Yeah. Don't put it, that's now going on the list.
That wouldn't work, don't write that down. But do keep your questions coming in on the app.
So the way we've got various measures for that. So you look at the engagement of a show, so very straightforwardly, how many people are watching at the end, how many watched it at the beginning. If it degrades a lot, that's not a good thing. What's the level of engagement? We have things called passion scores, which are similar to other broadcasters have things like that called AIs, which they basically are answering a question saying, is this your favourite show of the week, or amongst your favourites, would you don't mind missing it, so on. So we have various scores for that. Also, we look at, we talk to customers, we talk to people who watch our programmes and get feedback from them.
You must look at social as well, presumably.
Yeah, but you want to, be wary of just, everyone I'm sure in the room is wary of just looking at social, because that can be quite an echo chamber of hate. From my shows, apparently.
Okay. Last Edinburgh, Sky One announced bigger, bolder, more cinematic entertainment pieces, including Carnage and Revolution. Huge investments that haven't necessarily paid off. I mean, praised for the production, but I think some people had said that, perhaps it felt like they were on the wrong channel. How did you assess the way that they went? What did you think of those?
I think we were on slightly different timescales within our genre. So in drama, I think we've been knocking it out of the park for the past 18 months. It's been exceptional, and that story's come together brilliantly. I think in comedy, it's happened across the last year. We've handed over from an older guard to a newer guard, and we've been trying things in entertainment. And Phil will talk about it more when he comes and joins us. And they've not all worked. And I think the thing I would say that correlates between the three that haven't worked so far is that they weren't as grown up or adult as we need them to be. Pay TV, specifically on Sky, the vast majority of the year for us is about having something grown up. On Sky Atlantic, that's very chewy and adult and kind of fucked up. On Sky One, it needs to have adult themes and a grown up nature to it. I think those shows were pre-Watershed, essentially, and they were all perfectly well made, well produced, at good scale, great talent, good ideas, but they would probably have fitted on a terrestrial channel. And there is definitely a Skyness we require that they didn't necessarily hit. I think going forward, when you look at the autumn, the Heist, which we're going to show you a clip of later, absolutely has got that, and then later on, Faster has as well. So
what are you in the market for then? So you've got two great properties coming up. What can people make and pitch you?
I think in the entertainment area, again, I don't want to steal all of Phil's shopping list, but we still definitely want big entertainment, factual entertainment formats. I think they have to have something at the heart of them that has some jeopardy, something that means it's grown up and has adult themes about it. I always think that those shows for us work best when they're a documentary question that we then give entertainment values to. So the Heist is, could real people get away with a robbery? Okay. And then we do an entertainment version of it. And then comedy entertainment's very big for where we are. We've got League of Their Own, we've got Russell Howard, we need more of that, and we want to be building behind those guys. So
because it seemed that there was this shift away from the factual shows that had been, doing very well for a long time, Ross Kemp and Idiot Abroad as well. Any regrets about
I think
that?
Idiot still absolutely stands up. We always, we're working with Carl still. Carl's doing a scripted comedy for the autumn called Sick of It, which we
just saw a little
tiny bit in there. It's brilliant. I would say that, but it is. I think we would still, things like Idiot Abroad, we'd still be happily do that if we can have the leading one in its field, which that one was, because that's comedy entertainment. The other shows, things that sort of the more documented, the traditional documentary, factual, that we're not doing on Sky One anymore, and we've stopped doing that. It means that Sky One's a clearer proposition. Customers are understanding it more. It takes time. We only relaunched it in the autumn. It takes time to sort of roll off of one genre and then concentrate more heavily in the ones that we're doing. But I think people are getting it, and it has a more consistent tone and feel to it.
And how long do you think it's going to take for that to fully cohere and for people to, nail that brand proposition and just...
I think we internally completely get it now. I think in drama, for example, we've had Lucky Man and Jamestown, which are brilliant shows and done really well for the channel. But I think with Bulletproof, which you saw, which was on recently, and then this autumn with Discovery of Witches, and then in the New Year Curfew, which we'll show you a little bit later, you'll see a step change up in drama on Sky One. Cinematic values is what we used to have said we just wanted on Atlantic. Cinematic values are now a hygiene factor for us in drama. They both have to have cinematic values. So I think you'll.
So when you say a hygiene factor.
Yeah, it means it's a kind of, you have
basic requirement.
It is. Yeah. In original drama on Sky, they are all cinematic in some respect. Look at Save Me. It's a beautifully directed piece, and it's not epic in its sense of vistas and scale, but the way that it was shot certainly was.
Okay, so the editorial and commissioning strategy has shifted quite a lot during your time at Sky. Can you tell us about your strategy? And I think that might lead into the control who are coming in, the three pillars and the people who are in charge of them.
I can tell you who they are, if that would help. Also, we've by not doing factual anymore, we really concentrate on drama, and drama is on Sky One and Sky Atlantic. Sky Atlantic, cheerier, grown up, slightly fucked up, morally ambiguous characters. Sky One, they're more traditional storytelling, but then there's more interesting pairings in talent. There's a twist to things. There's a Sky factor that we add on top of that when you look at Discovery of Witches or Bulletproof. You know, Bulletproof was a fantastic buddy cop drama. It's got a glint in its eye, which I really liked. You know, it's just sliding across the bonnets and things like that, you know, a la The Professionals. And then entertainment, which I'll let Phil talk about at length, and arts as well. Not necessarily at length. We can cut him off. And then
I'll be interested.
And then original comedy. The original comedy is nearly all on Sky One, so that's mostly at 10 o'clock, and there's also some 9 o'clock slots on Sky One as well for comedy dramas. And we announced Brassic yesterday, which is Michelle Keegan, Joe Gilgan, Dominic West, as sort of like a shameless, what would you say, Lock, Stock meets Snatch meets The In-Betweeners. Okay. If you can imagine that.
Brassic as in skin, is it Scottish?
It is. It's not Scottish, but it is that phrase. So they're the main ones, and I don't think I think it's much clearer now we haven't got factual in that mix.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Zai. In that case, we will mention the people that we've been, introduce the people that we've been alluding to. Please welcome Phil Edgar Jones, Head of Entertainment and also Channel Director for Sky Arts, John Montague, Head of Comedy, and Lindsay Salt, who's Head of Development at Sky Drama. Come on up. All right, Phil, I'm going to start with you. Can you tell us a little bit about the clip that you're sharing before we see it?
So just to give it some context, I mean, Zai talked about some of the things we've been doing over the last year and what we've been sort of working towards, and we want to get to programmes that are a bit more hooky and box-settable. Okay. So this is a show called The Heist, which is from Shine Edinburgh, and it's a great sort of factual concept at the start of it. Can members of the public, as I said, get away with stealing money, hiding it for a period of time and evading police capture. So this is a kind of version of the pre-titles tease that you'll see in this.
Excellent, let's take a look.
That's where I forget to end of this TV festival, cigars and croissants. That's weird.
All round. We should order them in time for next year. Okay, so I mean that looks absolutely fantastic. And did you choose it because you know it kind of epitomises what you're looking for?
Well, so our ambition absolutely was to look for hooky cinematic shows that had the values of drama, you know, because I think, you know, entertainment genre across all the channels is very, very difficult at the moment. I think everyone's finding it hard to find that sort of new thing that sort of pops through. And the way we want to be distinctive, I think, is to make box set entertainment on one level. And I think that epitomises that exactly. And again, like Zai said, it asks a really good question at the top of it, and it's something I think you can relate to, and our audiences will relate to. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, you know, that's looking forward, looking back over the year so far. What's your assessment? What do you think has worked and what hasn't?
Well, obviously, well, Zai sort of told you all that, but so I mean, the big event single ep shows that were pre-Watershed kind of haven't landed, and that's absolutely true to say. I think there's, just adding to what Zai said, I think there's also a bit of a problem, possibly in our universe exclusively, but possibly in every universe. Those single ep, closed ep episode weekly programmes are much, much harder to land, because why do you come back to them? You kind of tend to forget a show's on unless you can catch up with it all the time. So that, again, is why we're trying to learn a little bit from drama here and try and catch up with that and create stuff that is hooky for people. And the stuff that has worked has been our post-Watershed, more adult-themed comedy stuff. So Russell Howard landed really, really well, and it feels like a step change for him, you know, to be doing something on a bit bigger scale, and it really resonates with the audience. They're in a different kind of echo chamber of hate around that show, which is always good to see. We love living in an echo chamber of hate. So that's worked really well. So I think going forward, everything has to be post-Watershed with a adult sensibility.
Okay.
has to be hooky, if it's factual entertainment with a good question at the beginning of it, or it's comediense.
Okay.
And that's what we're doing. And we'll look at event pieces.
You can see people getting pens, which is always a good sign.
Big stars as well. So that's
the shopping list.
Yes, exactly. Writing it down.
It's worth saying in comedienne as well that talent is the key thing. I mean, sorry, maybe it's painfully obvious, but you know, an interesting quiz game show that's funny. You know, you can get stacks of those, but you know, who's actually going to be the personality that brings it together, that gets it talked about, that can go and sit on a sofa and talk about it, and bring their personality to it. You know, like which Russell does, which James. That, you know, League of Their Own is very much James's personality.
Exactly.
Also, there's that element of the gang, you know, the group of friends that you can completely relate to. And
that, you know, A League of Their Own is such a long-running success for you guys. You know, how do you keep that fresh, and especially when James Corden is so busy? He's you know, in demand and doing other things too.
Well, it's the one show he does back in the UK. Of course, we have the Late Late Show that we do specials with him every year, and the Late Late Show is acquired for the channel as well. But you know, truthfully, it's a brilliant team that make it, who are obsessed with making it bigger and better every single year.
He loves it.
You know, he absolutely loves it. The cast, we got the cast has changed slightly this year, so Ramesh Ranganathan's joining the team, and he's absolutely thrown himself into it in quite a big way, and he's absolutely brilliant. And it's a very, very funny show, and it attracts the biggest names in sport as well, because they all have a great time when they come onto the show.
And are you looking to replicate that success? You would be up for more?
Well, that'd be wonderful if we could absolutely get to the, you know. And I think there's a danger as well of trying to start at that scale immediately and not building it up a little bit. Because you know, I think you can forget sometimes that League of Their Own didn't start at that level. You know, it kind of built up to that over.
Yeah, it was a half-hour show at 10 o'clock to start with. Yeah. Lots of those panel shows back in the day when I've commissioned them at other channels, they took 3 series before anyone watched them. So we're very happy to settle in, and if we find someone we love, we want to work with, we'll work with them over multiple series and get them loved in a big show, and then we can scale it up when we need to.
Okay. And what about the way that people consume Sky? Has that changed or become clearer, and does that affect the way that you are commissioning?
Well, I think it's not just Sky. I mean, it's the way people consume television generally now. So that's why I'm kind of, you know, I think it's a good idea to try and crack that notion of an entertainment show that can be hooky enough to make you want to watch the second episode immediately after the first. And I think I
think the Heist got that, and we'll probably try that this autumn and release it probably all at once and see how it goes.
Yes, exactly. See whether people eat it all at once or what. So what about arts then? Sky Arts. Where are the opportunities for producers that are in the
pens at the ready?
Yeah.
So
some other people have put their pens down.
Yeah, it's great when you get this support for a niche arts channel. So Sky Arts, there are lots of opportunities at Sky Arts.
Exciting! I'd love to hear about them.
I think it's one of the places where actually, you know, you can indulge your passions rather than having to. I mean, I always say to people, don't come to do good business in a way with Sky Arts to build your business. Come to do the programmes that you're passionate about. So we've had great success, obviously, with things like Portrait Arts of the Year and Landscape Arts of the Year, and our series on the British Library, Treasures of the British Library. We have a series called Passions, which are single docs. There's always opportunities around that. And that's, you know, generally sort of famous people exploring the art subject they're passionate about. So we're always looking for those. For those of you who've seen Urban Myths, which John makes for us for Sky Arts, which I wanted to entitle True Stories from Arts and Cultural History, but I think marketing people thought that was maybe not
people
the best.
Got upset about the hashtag already.
Catchiest, yes, I know, exactly.
Don't get the support, do you?
No, I know, unfortunately. But we're always looking. This is a 360 review.
All right.
So we're always looking for those, and I think
controllers of art.
I think the other thing, we don't have any trouble attracting big talent to the channel. We've got a great project, you know, coming up in January called Why Do We Dance, which is hosted by Akram Khan, for example, who's, I think, the sort of foremost choreographer and dancer in the UK at the moment. We have a series with Brian Johnson out of AC/DC. Brian Johnson's I can't remember what it's called actually. It's just got Brian Johnson in it, and he talks to old rockers who are mostly deaf about their life, and it's quite funny watching it. And that's absolutely brilliant. So we don't have any problem attracting big names. So I think that when you come to us, you know, a good partnership with an artist or somebody of note is good idea. A good partnership with an institution is always a good idea because, you know, we partner with the British Library, the Tate, all sorts of different people.
We need that to be able for it to punch out and above. Sky does punch above its weight, and it's because of those partnerships and the talent.
Yes, okay.
Well saved.
Right. Thank you, Phil. Lindsay Salt, I'm going to move on to you. You've got a clip to show us as well. Tell us a little bit about what we're going to see.
So this is a clip of Curfew, which is a massive Sky One drama for us. It will be on air next year. I think Zai mentioned it earlier. So yeah, have a look.
Let's see, yeah.
Rumble.
Oh! Wow. That's got adrenaline coursing through our veins. Very exciting.
Nice tame show. Yeah.
What else are you most excited about this coming year?
So I head up development for Sky Drama. I'm not the head of drama, that is Anne, of course, but I head up the development slate. So in terms of developing and looking at our slate, obviously it takes a long time to develop dramas, we all know, compared to some of the other genres. What I think we are massively excited about at the moment is I think people always knew us for those big spectacle pieces, those, you know, our Fortitudes, our Britannias, our Rivieras, big sort of international facing, massive bells and whistles, spectacular shows, which is great. And we still want more of them and we're still making them and those shows are returning and that's fantastic. But I think what's particularly exciting at the moment is that we've, after the success of Save Me and Melrose, and to start to a certain extent as well, those intimate character shows have done really well for us as well. And I think that's allowed us now, looking at the development slate, to go, wait a second, we don't just have to be noisier and louder of every single show. We can actually have those big hitters, but we can also do stuff around the edges that are really sort of provocative character pieces. And that feels really exciting.
So you know, that is a little bit of an insight into the next question, which is, you know, the same as I asked these guys, you know, what's worked, what hasn't. So those kind of character pieces are one of the successes that you want to take forward, presumably.
Yeah, I think before, I remember particularly with Save Me, I mean, it was Anne very much working with World and with Lenny and really championing Lenny as a writer. He had written before, but he hadn't done tons, and I know with that show, there was a question before it was commissioned going, oh gosh, is this gonna, it's very different to the stuff we've done before, are our customers gonna love it? And they did, they absolutely loved it, because I think they really enjoyed that it was a totally different experience offered to them. So I think, yes, that is what has worked really well, so we feel very confident going forward that we either do big, bold spectacles, or we go around the edges and do stuff that feels a little bit different in an unusual way. And I think what hasn't worked, I would say, looking at the development slate, if I'm being totally honest, the thing that I find trickiest is that everybody always wants to pitch to Sky Atlantic, which is brilliant, because Sky Atlantic is a brilliant channel and we're doing really well on that. We've got some great shows on Sky One, and I think also with Bulletproof recently, Strike Back obviously is a key brand for us, Lucky Man, and we've got Curfew and Discovery of Witches coming through. But obviously I'm looking beyond that as well and thinking sometimes when people pitch us, and maybe it's us miscommunicating or trying to point out the differences a little bit too much for Sky One and Sky Atlantic, but for drama it's like Sky One, yes, it's a little bit more mainstream, yes, it's a little bit more blue collar, yes, it's a little bit more the characters, you've got to love them at the end of the day, but it shouldn't be lightweight, it shouldn't be disposable, it shouldn't be throwaway drama that you can easily forget. It's still got to be memorable, still got to be cinematic, ambitious. So that's what I'd say, and I just think there's even more of an opportunity on our slate to get a few more mainstream shows on Sky One that are still doing something challenging and exciting.
Okay, so you're still looking excellent. Well, I was going to ask, you know, as we were talking about with Zai a little bit, obviously in terms of production, you know, drama it takes the most kind of doing to come together. If you had to describe, you know, nailing that perfect Sky project in a sentence, could you? You know, it kind of goes back to what you've just been saying, but just to kind of boil it down. How do people know if they're bringing you the right thing? I tend
to think three things you've got to think about, or three things I do. A few things that I think about when you're bringing a Sky project. First thing is, look, we all have to accept we are sat behind a paywall, so we do have to be really noticeable and we do have to shout about our shows coming through, but just finding clever ways of doing that, but just we're behind a paywall, so we've got to be different to the terrestrials. I think being brave, we're not a shy channel neither on Sky One or Sky Atlantic, so just be brave with the ideas that you bring to us. Just think that's liberating. I actually have the freedom to just go there and do it, and we'd rather take a risk and fall flat on our face and not take a risk at all. And I think the final thing I would say is ultimately, it does take a really long time to get stuff through. So actually, at the end of the day, don't listen to me at all, because it's all about you guys working with talent and being passionate about your ideas. And then if that aligns with what we're trying to do, that's brilliant. But I think sometimes you can sense when projects have been sort of reversed engineered into a gap or a brief that you're kind of looking for, and sometimes we do that in development when we oversteer and go, oh, but it needs to be a bit more like this or a bit more like that. And actually, just you guys have got to be passionate about the talent that you're working with, and if that aligns with us, then
Phil's got a badge on to that effect, haven't you, Phil?
My badge just says no one really knows.
Yeah, there we go. Hooray!
This is so don't listen to that.
It's a good caveat to put out there. Okay, I'm going to move on to John, because we want to hear what's going on with comedy. John Montague, tell me about the clip that you're going to show us.
So the clip that I'm going to show you is from Ramesh Ranganathan. His new show is called Reluctant Landlord. It's coming in October, I think, late October. It's his first scripted piece, really. He created it. It's his idea. He wrote, as part of a team, 2 of the scripts, and it's largely based on a true story, a personal experience of his, which was that when he was younger, his father owned a pub. He didn't like living in a pub, and when his dad sadly passed, his dad sort of played a bit of a practical joke on him in that he left the pub to him in a will, and sort of what's that word? Post when you die? Post
mortem.
No, posthumously. That, yeah. Sort of created the sense that Ramesh should continue to run the pub in his father's honour, which is the last thing he wanted to do. Fantastic. So that's why it's called The Reluctant Landlord.
Okay. I hope Ramesh's mum pops up. I'm a big fan from her appearance on the Hip Hop Saved My Life podcast. So
yes, well, his mum, there is his mum in there, but it's not his actual mum.
It's all right, as long as it's inspired by will do me. John, time's pressing, so I'm going to ask about, because we've seen Ramesh actually a couple of times in the clips here about talent and how critical that is here. I would have thought for you in comedy,
yes, of course,
particularly important to get right, and presumably particularly tricky to get right.
Yeah, it is, and to Lindsay's point about us being behind a paywall, we have to be as noisy and as loud and as kind of noticed as we possibly can. And sometimes I think we've got a responsibility in comedy not to put people on too early on Sky. So BBC Three does a great job of all of that, but our job is to kind of pluck them when they're ready. And actually that show's been in the making for sort of 3 or 4 years, really. And when we started, Ramesh wasn't really that well known, but we kind of got a sense that his star would rise. But yeah, if you look across our shows, I mean, over the past year, we've done a show called In the Long Run with Idris Elba and Bill Bailey. We're doing Ramesh and Sean Gibson is in that, as well as in the autumn coming up is a show called Sally Forever with Julia Davis and Julian Barrett, actually, amongst other great cast, and a show with Carl Pilkington, which is called Sick of It, which I mentioned, a big poster of it down there, and that's got 2 Carls in it. And I think one of the things for us is to look at the combinations of talent. Often did someone laugh at that? I mean, what's that funny? Why is that funny? Often people would say, "Who's the big star?" And one of the things that we really wanted to kind of, I guess, just turn the screw a little bit on that thought was who's the combination? What does the combination look like? Okay. So within the long run, we put Bill Bailey in it. And I think, probably why the Sunday Times described it as one of the most surprising, the most surprising sitcom of the decade was...
No big deal. But
Yeah, Bill Bailey and Idris Elba, I think we can all agree that's a pretty surprising combination and a very good one at work. So that's a big thing for us. And the other thing is, you know, a few of our shows currently are characterised by this kind of idea of autobiography, you know. So Idris's show is loosely autobiographical, Romesh's is, and Carl's is a real kind of Carl perspective. And I think, I really believe that, you know, we talk about passion a lot and we talk about the engagement of the talent. I think that when they're sort of telling a story that's very meaningful to them and autobiographical, they're incredibly engaged.
That's when that works, yeah.
And so that's useful.
I want to take some questions from the app, so I'm going to have a look at a few of these now. Channel 4 leads the way with diversity on screen and off screen. What are Sky's plans for the promotion of diversity, and how much do you want to do this versus how much do you feel like you should? Zai.
It's intrinsic in everything we do. I think you'll see from the rosters of shows there that they all have diverse talent on screen. We are, you know, we've signed up and made our diversity targets public, and we are very committed to reporting on them. We also we invest in a scheme called Mama Youth to invest in sort of diverse and social mobility in production, as well as being very active in the CDN and Project Diamond, and it's intrinsic in everything we do.
It's like a hygiene factor. You use that word, hygiene. It's just normal, really. You know, it's not. We almost, I would say, it's just. You know, we're totally committed to it for reasons to do with the audience, actually, rather than anything else.
Well, the next question leads on to the audience, actually. Who is a typical Sky viewer? What age are they and where do they live? Very specific.
Wow.
Street address, please.
Don't know if we know where they live. Where they live all over the country.
I can tell you where Sky Arts viewers live.
Yeah.
It's a small channel. I know them all.
Some people look really perturbed in the audience now.
No, but, you know, do you have a kind of...
It's like a 24 to 54-year-old, it's male and female, it's families who take out Sky, and the part of our mission is to offer something for everyone in the family. That doesn't mean every channel, every show is for everyone in the family. So across the whole, people always need to remember there's the whole platform there, which we've got partner channels who offer lots of factual, we've got younger channels like Comedy Central, MTV on there for you. The bit that we work on, the Sky Entertainment channels, is very specifically got those individual content brands which have got very specific audience. So Sky One is sort of a mid-market channel, Sky Atlantic is a bit older and a bit more upmarket, and likewise Arts is a bit older, a bit more upmarket, and Sky Witness is slightly more female skewing. So we have things within the bit that we run that skew to different parts of the Sky world, but then the platform covers the whole family.
Okay. That's a good way of answering that question.
It's also true.
Yeah. Is there anything on other channels that you wish you'd commissioned? Anybody can answer this one.
I'd quite like Catchphrase with Roy Walker. Because I'm on it in about 10 minutes. But,
I really like The Ozark, and I'd have liked that. It's a great drama. I've also... too many Netflix shows. I thought my house would love Glow, but I don't know.
Orange is the New Black for Sky.
Yes. Succession's brilliant, but we've kind of got that.
Yeah.
We have literally got that.
We've literally got that, yeah.
Are you planning to take risks on fresh, more diverse talent, or do all pitches need to be talent-led? I mean, it's talk about finding the balance between, you know, people who are coming up and...
I think certainly with we're doing the comedy ends, we do want to get, you know, some big names in there, but we want to grow the talent around that. As simple as that, really. So yes is the answer.
So there's a mix. I think in entertainment it's more of a mix, but I think in drama and in comedy they are more established. Although there's, you know, it's always there's multiple members of cast. You know, where you can mix them up and you make it surprising by having more interesting emerging people amongst the mix.
Just on that note, actually, there's a space on Sky Arts as well for emerging talent behind the camera as well. So we do take a few more risks on first-time filmmakers, on new emerging artists and all that sort of stuff that actually gives voice to the new generations coming through too.
Okay. Zai, you keep using the word hooky. A show with a hook is presumed. What is an example of a show that you consider to have a great hook, and what was it about the show that fulfilled hooky for you?
Hooky?
Hooky.
I think it might be Phil who says that. I think
I was just trying to play hooky.
Nearly all of our dramas, certainly on Atlantic, are heavily serialised dramas, so they are intrinsically very hooky. You know, Tin Star, you really wanted to see what's happening each week. Each Bulletproof on Sky One, equally, although there were satisfying stories each week, there's an overarching story that made you want to come back. I think it's in the nature of nearly all the scripted we do, and certainly even in comedy, there's we have a much heavier serialised element to our comedies than you would see elsewhere. Don't be fair.
Yeah, so all our half hours are at 10 o'clock in comedy. And the reason for that is because we want to have them feel more premium, and I don't really have a definition for that, but than they have done in the past. And I think by definition, a hooky conceptual basis for that is hooky.
Yeah. So by being serialised you are. Yeah.
I watched a lot of I just finished binging on The Staircase. I don't know if anyone's seen that. Seen that? It's incredible. It's a real true crime drama. And I think there's some sensibility of those kind of making a murderer type shows that you can, I don't know, this sounds terribly tasteless, doesn't it? That you can apply to fact temp formats as well.
Okay. I think we've got time for one more question because we're pretty tight for time, but I'm going to finish on a biggie. With Game of Thrones ending, what does Sky have in line to take its place?
Game of Thrones is ending. Shit, we should really think about that.
Oh, this has really brought the vibe down. It's going really well.
First of all, HBO are developing Game of Thrones prequel, I think it is now, which Jane Goldman's written, which is the pilot is being shot currently. So that will hopefully fill part of that void. Equally, they and Showtime are looking for big US hits, which we will have. Westworld and so on. But more importantly, we are investing huge amounts in our own original drama, comedy, and entertainment, and those are the shows we want to become the next big things for us. You know, apart from Game of Thrones, the biggest shows on Sky are our original dramas, actually, and the comedies. So Ratburger was a huge show at Christmas. Bulletproof, massive on Sky One. Tin Star, Riviera is a huge show for us. So we've got big entities for us now, and lots of them are going to be returning, and it's those that we hope we will grow. You know, Riviera could grow and grow and grow for us and become really big and important.
Okay, well, thank you so much for being here. Wonderful panel. Thank you very much. Zai Bennett, Philip Jones, John Montague, and Lindsay Salt. Thank you. Thank you all. Cheers.